Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Avenger Park today for a top-of-the-table clash. Marvel's Avengers music was ringing out across the ground just moments ago and maybe reflects the drama that will unfold today. The stakes at play as these two teams battle to see who will top the NPL Victoria table come the end of the round. It's Avondale FC taking on South Melbourne. Josh Parrish and Lockie Flanagan with you in commentary today. We'll go through the starting lineups for both sides. In goal for Avondale, number 44, Rory Bryan. Across the back four, number 27, Dylan Jakupi. Number 2, Scott Hillier. Number 5, Matthew Reid. And number 19, Brandon Lundy. Making up the midfield, number 18, Christian Trajeski. Number 13, Yite Towns. And number 23, a new signing for Avondale into the first 11 for the first time today. After arriving this week from New Zealand, it is Mario Barcia. The front three is Stefan Zini, making only his fourth appearance of the season, number 7. Number 22, Stefan Valentini, Avondale's leading goal scorer. And number 11, Yusuf Ahmed. That's 4 changes they've made with Boland, Carpenter, Riccobene and Katabian all dropping to the bench. Bon Scott is the backup goalkeeper. For South Melbourne, number 1, P.S. Clark between the sticks. The back four of number 24, Ben Jeeba. Number 5, Jake Marshall. Number 15, Marko Jankovic. And number 11, the captain, Bradley Norton. Number 2, Liram Elmazi will play a holding role, sometimes dropping in between the centre-backs to make up a back 5. Also in midfield, number 8, Luke Pavlu, and number 10, Marcus Schroen. Number 13, Henry Hoare, and number 22, Daniel Clark, support number 45, Jerry Salados, in attack. As we kick off here, long diagonal from Marko Jankovic. Daniel Clark battling for the ball, but Scott Hillier wearing the captain's armband today, cleaning things up for Avondale in a special commemorative pink kit in aid of the Breast Cancer Network of Australia. All the funds from today's festivities will go to that very worthwhile organisation. We've had various notables in attendance, including John Aloisi and Simon Hill, emceeing today's President's Luncheon, all in aid of BCNA. Fantastic cause, and I would say a fantastic kit as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's burning bright pink for a great cause, and it's been a good day here at Avenger Park so far. Junior training session getting things started off in the morning. Women played an exhibition match against Spring Hills, and now the senior men do battle against South Melbourne.
Lovely combination between Trajeski and Ahmed. Breaks down thanks to Elmazi. Welcome, Lockie, to the bracing scaffold.
Oh, pleasure to be here, Josh. As you were saying in your build-up, how fitting that the Avengers theme music rang out before the game here at Avenger Park. Not least because of the team nickname, but also because this game between South Melbourne and Avondale, the most colossal of clashes, not just in this match week, but probably in the NPL Victoria season. You can't get much better than first versus second, and you also can't get much better than best attack versus best defence. This is going to be a cracker, Josh.
The unstoppable force against the immovable object. It's the classic dilemma. We might finally have a solution to that problem today. I think Avondale will be feeling the cold just as much as we are, Lockie, in these opening few minutes, because they were actually forced to delay kickoff here today. The referee spotting that Avondale were wearing white undershirts, which you cannot wear.
Got to be the same colour. Yeah, I'm actually surprised in many respects that they didn't know that. Maybe the pink kit caught them on the hop, perhaps. Maybe
they should have left those white undershirts in with the red in the wash, and we wouldn't have had this problem.
I mean, I'm not sure how heavy supply pink undershirts really are, to be honest with you, Josh.
Back to Rory Bryan in between the sticks. Now I'm monitoring the Facebook Live comments, so please chime in with your contributions. High foot against Brandon Lundy there. It would be an indirect free kick for South Melbourne. Elmazi takes it long, looking for Daniel Clark. It's too heavy. Comfortable take for Rory Bryan, who's displaced a goalkeeper who spent time in the A-League. That's no mean feat for Rory Bryan to have the number 1 jersey ahead of Bon Scott. Norton just doing enough with his body to ease Ahmed off the ball. Reid manhandling Schroen a touch. South Melbourne throw. Schroen. Come back off the South Melbourne number 10. Garcia was expecting the run from Jakupi, but it never came. Perhaps a sign of that rustiness with his new teammates. These big raps on the Kiwi, though. Number 23 at the base of midfield, just what Avondale have needed all season. A reliable holding midfield presence with likes of Germano and Towns being in and out of the first 11. Towns taking some weeks to get back from that long-term off-season foot injury, and Germano tearing his groin against the Knights. Salados for Jiba. Here he is, the main man for South. Salados across goal. Schrön! What a save by Rory Bryan! How did he keep that one out?
That was a ripper from Rory Bryan. Every week since he's been thrust into this side, he shows why Zok Markowski has put the faith in him. That save, a ripper to deny Marcus Schrön, who must be completely confused as to how it's not 1-0 to South Melbourne.
It's actually a double save. Initially there was the shot, then it came back off Schrön's body. Bryan managed to get it away. An unbelievable bit of goalkeeping to keep it at 0-0. And Jerry Salados, having done all the hard work, very unlucky not to have an assist already. Oh, keeps it in bounds. Goes down under the challenge of Valentini, who's the wrong side. Garcia managing to delay the restart. Rather savvy manner.
Well, he's quite a savvy signing as well. Mario Barcia, of course, signed from Team Wellington over in the top flight in New Zealand, but has played professionally previously, the 31-year-old. Native Argentina, and interestingly, Bolivia as well, and Indonesia. So, well-travelled, the new signing, Mario Barcia, for Avondale. And wearing the number 23, but been told pre-game by the Avondale coaching staff that he is an out-and-out 6, and he will sit in front of that Avondale back 4. Certainly a player that I think Avondale could use, Josh.
Singing his praises, the Avondale coaching staff pre-game, just how cool and composed he is in possession. He's very experienced. I think they need that in this team, a very young side who've occasionally crumbled in big moments under pressure. Here's Yui Ahmed for Yite Towns. Towns bringing the ball inside. Bit of space for the midfielder to work. He thought about the shot. And he was caught there. Good refereeing, trying to play the advantage, but Luke Pavlou did catch Yite Towns on the ankle there, and it's a really good position for the free kick on the edge of the area. Yeah,
he had that little fake shot there, Yite Towns, and did enough to confuse and confuddle Luke Pavlou, who stuck his leg out in an attempt to block the shot and ended up catching the Avondale number 13. It was a nice move inbound from Yite Towns. He had the run of Yui Ahmed to his right, ignored that, and winning this free kick in a promising position may be the right decision.
It's Brandon Lundy. He seems to really fancy this one. The left back. Trzeski just getting rid of a bit of ankle tape.
This is a massive wall for South Melbourne.
Yeah, a lot of height in there. 6 players in Pierce Clark's wall. It'll be Brandon Lundy to wrap his right boot around this. It's Lundy, and it's well over the crossbar. He approached it with so much confidence, but the end product did not match.
Yeah, a real shame. He certainly looked like he was going to score a goal there, right up until the point that he hit it. Good thing the retaining wall is behind the goals, otherwise some of the cars in the Reggio Calabria Club car park might have been in trouble. From Brandon Lundy there.
Zinni intercepting a goal kick gone wrong. Jakupi. Valentini around the corner for Ahmed. He's run out of room. Schrön using his body up against Jakupi. Little back heel. That was a lovely touch between the legs of Dylan Jakupi. He's really improved South Melbourne's midfield since his return a few rounds into the season. Struggling for creativity in the middle of the park. Playing a more advanced role than we're accustomed to seeing him today. He and Daniel Clark rotating in the striker role in this 4-2-3-1. Schrön picks up again, goes for the nutmeg again, and he was taken out by Mario Barcia. Straight to the referee and alleging a bit of play acting, but there seemed to be plenty of contact there on the South Melbourne man. The ball was moving there. Can't take that quick free kick like that, Brad Norton. Here he is, Brad Norton with the free kick. Good header from Marshall. Yusuf Ahmed using those long limbs to good effect on the defensive end. Clark's attempted ball was blocked by Jakupi and behind for a corner kick. Give him another set-piece chance, and they are so strong off set pieces, South Melbourne. Elmazi, Marshall. Yankovic especially is very dangerous with his movement in the box and his big frame. Clark's delivery. Elmazi was arriving, but just wrong-footed in the flight of the ball. Now Trzeski. No way past for Christian Trzeski. Marshall is a centre-back's pass. Then he closed down quickly by Ben Jeeba. Zoran Markovski very worked up about something. On the Avondale bench. Trzeski spreading the ball. Jakupi. Salados with an effortless switch. Shout for a penalty there, but the referee waves it away. Matt Reid with a very risky challenge. But according to today's match official, he timed that perfectly.
Well,
and there's an injured player here for South Melbourne as a result. I think it's Marcus Schrön who's down clutching a shoulder.
Yeah, still Schrön on the deck. And I think that Matt Reid and Avondale have gotten away with one there, Josh.
Certainly the visiting South fans agree with you, Lockie.
Have to have a second look at it. But I thought clearly Matt Reid, maybe he got a bit of the ball that I didn't see, but his leg was outstretched, made contact with Schrön. Seemed pretty stonewall from my angle, but the referee was better placed, and Marcus Schrön, unfortunately, is still on the turf. I've had a second chance to look at it, Josh, and I don't know if Matt Reid did actually get a touch on that one.
I've just had a luxury that the referee really doesn't have, and I've slowed this down to 0.5 speed on the YouTube here, Lockie. And he does. I don't know if it's before he takes the man, though, but he does, on the very last moment of the tackle, just get a grazing stud on the ball. I don't know if that's enough, to be honest. I've seen those given, for sure, and South have every right to feel aggrieved.
Yep. Inclined to agree with you there, Josh. I think South fans' anger on this broadcast side is certainly warranted.
It's Clark. Back to Jeeba. Good feet from the young man. Trying to keep his footing there. And he eventually runs out of room. South at least temporarily down to 10 as the physio puts Marcus Schrön's shoulder through its paces. Zinni's flick. Valentini. Just joining us, Avondale. This isn't some zany third kit they've unveiled for the sake of it. This is an all-in-aid of breast cancer today, playing in all pink. Breast Cancer Network Australia, the charity in question. Off the chest of Henry Hoare. Yankovic. Marshall. Cut out by Hillier. The rebound falls to Henry Hoare. Nice little heel chop. It's Daniel Clark to step inside, trying to get it on his left foot. Scott Hillier making the intervention again. Trzaski. Zinni. Barcia with a bit of space. He's Dylan Jacoby. And Marcus Strone back out on the field. Great to see. After that injury scare. Valentini with the return. It falls to Trzaski, who goes down. Only half a shout from the Avondale supporters and none for the players. Trzaski will be first to admit he just lost his footing there.
Yeah, I think if we were ranking penalty shouts, Josh, I think that would be a clear second place to the claims of Marcus Strohan a few minutes earlier. It's the first attack for quite a few minutes for Avondale, this.
Bit of wrestling going on in the 6-yard box with so many players crowding Pierce Clark's area, and the referee will have to take charge of this situation. And it's still going on, the handbags in the penalty area.
I've never seen it quite as congested as this from a corner situation before. It's every single player is basically on the goal line, with the exception of the two Avondale defenders and Stefan Valentini on the edge of the penalty area.
It's going to make it difficult for Pierce Clark to come and claim anything if it's whipped into that area. That's a familiar tactic for Avondale. I think this is the most extreme execution of it I've seen so far this season, but it is one of their favoured strategies.
Or is this the bait and switch to a Stefan Valentini? No, even he's heading in now.
It is. Comes out to Brandon Lundy for the strike. And it was a great hit from Lundy. Really got hold of that one. It swerved, it dipped violently. And Pierce Clark watched, prayed, and thanked whatever higher power for that one flashing wide.
I don't know whether or not you can cross your fingers in goalkeeping gloves, but I dare say that Daniel Clark would have been trying there. It was the bait and switch from Avondale there as they flicked that one out to Brandon Lundy. I can kind of see the approach because you've got so many players in that crowded goal line blocking Daniel Clark's vision, or Pierce Clark, I should say. Having his vision blocked, it certainly makes it hard to get a save, and if that one was on target, I don't think Pierce Clark was getting anywhere near it because he would barely have been able to see it.
DeCanio style scissor from Barcia with the clearance. Bit of Argentinian flair. It's Yankovic. Missed the first one, but he's got it away now. Norton goes down. Towns pleading innocence. Norton spoiling for a rumble. Pascalis Natis ordering players away. Just say, I thought that was pretty innocuous from Ute Towns. I don't really know what Norton's complaining about. Free kick, nothing more.
Might just be a bit of captain's energy, trying to get the Avondale players riled up. Just doing his job.
Just a bit of gamesmanship there, perhaps. Yankovic with the free kick. Free header for Reed. Can count his lucky stars. He didn't give away a penalty a few minutes ago. 18 minutes played here at Avenger Park. It's 0-0 between Avondale and South Melbourne. Second versus third. It was a top-of-the-table clash until Bentley Greens did Melbourne Knights 5-1 last night and soared to the top of the NPL Victoria standings. Really tight. Up the top end of the NPL ladder. And a yellow card for Bradley Norton.
Yeah, that was silly from Brad Norton because not only is it a very early yellow card, you know, to concede it from touching Pascalis Natis is a bit of a silly one. And it's his 5th of the season, so that'll be him rubbed out for the next game as well. So it's a really bad decision to make for a captain.
Not really a player they can do without. They don't have a lot of cover in that position.
No.
Maybe Freddie Say can deputise. Luke Adams maybe playing out of position. It's a right footer.
Well, it's been interesting to see. Ben Gibber, since he's come in, has played so well that he's put Luke Adams on the bench at the moment. I'm very impressed with the two-way work of Ben Gibber so far this season. I think provides a little bit more attacking thrust down the right than perhaps a Luke Adams would.
Reed. Jakupi. Towns standing on the ball and inviting Pavlu's challenge. Here's Daniel Clark. Goes down in search of a free kick and he'll get it too.
It was a delayed descent from Daniel Clark, but probably was still a free kick despite the level of the theatrics. And my co-com Josh Parrish signalling otherwise.
I felt that was a little soft.
Perhaps not as convinced of that being a free kick as Pascalis Natis was.
Back up off his haunches.
Interesting to watch the movement of Liram Elmazi in the build-up to that turnover by Avondale and counter-attack for South Melbourne. Usually you see him out of possession drop in to the defence to form a sort of back five. Wasn't doing that time around. He was actually sort of man-marking Trzeski, who clearly Avondale were trying to get it to. Couldn't find the space to get it to their attacking midfielder, and the pressure of the midfielders further forward eventually forced the turnover. So, interesting from Elmazi and from South Melbourne.
So it's Schroen and Hall. Two options over this one. It will be Henry Hall. Well, that's well wide from the Queenslander. Lundy.
Can just see Elmazi again, just following Trzeski wherever possible.
This little wrinkle from Esteban Quintas' side. He looks to be preparing a substitute already. Is that Josh Baresi getting ready? Maybe Marcus Schroen's shoulder isn't as structurally sound as we'd hoped. Yeah, off he comes. Marcus Schroen, the number 10, replaced by Josh Baresi in the 22nd minute. That one's injury enforced. You can see the way he's holding it. And a yellow card for Marcus as he leaves the field. Or was that for the member of the bench? I'm not sure.
I'm not 100% certain, but that's a real shame for South Melbourne. Marcus Schroen has provided a lot of energy early doors. Should probably have had a penalty, but the silver lining for South Melbourne is that in terms of cavalry to be able to bring on, Josh Baresi, not the worst substitute to be able to call to. A player who's already off the mark in his short time at South Melbourne where goal scoring is concerned.
Does look like the yellow card was for Schroen, so I think he may have just given the referee a little spray on his way out. Pascalis Natis did not like that one bit.
May well have been about the penalty, perhaps.
Yeah, I think so.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Because not only was he denied a spot kick, he was actually injured in the same motion in the tackle from Matt Reed. So you can understand Schroen's frustration. Here is Matt Reed. Towns around the corner. Barcia rides the challenge of Clark. It's a delicate ball, but a little too hefty for Stefan Valentini.
Yeah, asking just a touch too much of Steph Valentini. That pass in from Barcia. He was stretching out his hamstrings. I was worried that that left hamstring might just tear as Valentini threw the leg out. But it was good work from Barcia to ride the challenge of Daniel Clark and then spring his way forward. Always what you want to see from a deep-lying midfielder.
You might notice whenever the camera flashes towards the Avondale bench, they're decked out in pink beanies today. That's another fundraising initiative for Breast Cancer Network Australia.
There's also a big contingent who were at the sponsor luncheon watching from the Reggio Calabria Club.
Tackle coming in from Jiba. Throwing deep in opposition territory. Lundy finds Ahmed. Well, not quite. Jiba doing some great defensive work there. Trajeski. Collected late by Almazi, but advantage paid. Barcia. Lundy down the line, trying to beat Salados. Gets a foot in Jerry Salados. And Benjiba scrapping and harassing his opposite number. It's a yellow card out.
I think that's for Liram Almazi. Deservedly so, I think, as well. I mean, that challenge on Christian Trajeski was so late, the little stamp from behind. It was almost like someone had pressed pause and then play on Liram Almazi. That's how delayed the challenge was after Trajeski had received and then distributed the ball.
He and Valentini are really getting into it now, and Valentini's given away the free kick for having a hold of his marker. Well, some jibes flying back and forth between the number 2 and the number 22. Hillier winning the aerial duel. They don't really have a target man focal point today in the shape of Harry Sawyer, who's done a ligament injury to his toe. Missed the Melbourne Knights away game as a result after being so important in their FFA Cup shootout victory. Ahmed. Great ball from Ahmed for Trajeski. Zinni wanted the ball, but he just couldn't get it to him. And that was an ambitious effort from Barcia. Very awkward for a goalkeeper, even of Pierce Clark's frame.
You always throw around the word flair too often when you're talking about Latin American players, but that was a flair shot from Mario Barcia with the outside of the foot. Very nonchalant, but impressive.
About the forward pressing from Stefan Valentini that we've just seen.
Yeah, good work.
It starts with him.
So interesting as well to note that Avondale have already gone for a tweak out wide, just swapping Yusuf Ahmed and Stefan Zinni. Gives Zinni the chance to go against the maybe slightly slower, due to age, Brad Norton on the right-hand side. And the undersized Jiba to go head-to-head with pretty tall figure in Yui Ahmed. I like the change.
Yeah, it's certainly more of a matchup differential there. Towns. Trajeski between the lines. Threads a ball through for Yui Ahmed. Tries to centre it. Benjiba was in the way. The ball ricocheted back off him. South Melbourne goal kick.
I think it would actually be a South Melbourne free kick, perhaps, because Yui Ahmed, well, the assistant referee on the broadcast side, Josh, I think you might not have seen it, but had flagged for offside. Maybe Pascal Sanatas overruled him because that was taken as a goal kick.
Oh, turnover here, careless by South Melbourne. It's Jakupi. Clark's out of his goal. It's cleared away by Almazi. Ahmed in the corner. Really putting the screws on now. Avondale. Trajeski. Through the tightest of gaps. That's magic. Christian Trajeski. Saved at the near post.
Well, everyone was so dazzled by that manoeuvre from Christian Trajeski that he thought, well, I've got Pierce Clark spellbound. I may as well try and catch him out at the near post. Luckily, Pierce Clark had just enough awareness to get down low to his left and deny Christian Trajeski what would have been an absolutely incredible opener for this game.
Absolutely stunning manoeuvre to beat 3 South Melbourne defenders with one move. It's Valentini battling for some purchase. Goes back to Barcia. The 2 fullbacks staying back off the set piece. Zinni dropping into midfield, trying to get a touch on the ball. Reed. Jakupi, they're really circulating it from left to right, trying to find a gap between the lines. Up against a very disciplined opponent in South Melbourne, playing that flat 4-4-2 shape out of possession. Trojewski touches it back for Barcia. Towns intercepted. Shouts for handball on Salados. Play goes on. Clark didn't see Lundy coming from his blind side. Ryan clears just in time. Nicely done by Hoare. Clark over the top. Jakupi into the stratosphere.
I was worried that that was going to be a ball lost to the suburbs as it travelled over the fence. But luckily for Dylan Jakupi, it hit one of the residential buildings and bounced back over the fence, off the wall, and we're back using the same ball that we had before.
Reed could only head it further towards goal. The second bite at the cherry to clear it. Here's Norton. A chip down the line for Henry Hoare. Garcia's challenge. Goal kick. Despite Henry Hoare's protest.
I think Henry Hoare just careered into Mario Barcia there. I don't think there was any intent from the Avondale midfielder. Nothing malicious about it. Just a coming together between 2 players vying for the ball.
Baresi winning it back. Almazi couldn't find a teammate. Here's Towns. Barcia. They've really monopolised the ball in the last 25 minutes. Avondale. Jakupi. Jankovic deflects it away. Hoare with the latest clearance. Well, the midfielders and attackers having to do some defending for South Melbourne at the moment. Here comes Zinni. Pass was straight to Pavlu. And there'll be some disciplinary action here for Matt Reed. Cynical challenge.
He had the defensive contingent of South Melbourne all running in his direction. Messrs Almazi, Jankovic and Norton all coming up out of the defensive line to give Matt Reed a piece of their mind. I guess it takes one to know one in the realms of defensive dark arts. It was a pretty straight up and down foul from Matt Reid, no disguising it.
Baresi putting himself about. And a free kick being flagged by the assistant on the far side for leading with his studs. Here comes Yui Ahmed up against Norton. Jakubi to take the throw. Jankovic stepping in and intervening. Barcia stepping in. Now Towns trying to find a gap. A lot of this possession has been pretty ineffectual stuff between the centre-backs. They're really trying to probe for some holes in the South Melbourne organised banks of four.
After such a bright start, we've slipped into a bit of a game of brinksmanship at the moment.
Trzajeski trying to work his magic again. Wriggling past Pavlu, just about. It's with Jakupi now, stuck in the corner. Deflection falls Yusuf Ahmed's way, but showed too much of the ball to Henry Hoare. South trying to break. Sworn by Zinni, who went in too heavily, too clumsily.
It wasn't the approach that Esteban Quintas had planned, but I've liked the contribution of Josh Baresi so far. Simple job to do in terms of operating with back to goal, getting good close control and bounce passing to runners either side, but he's done a good job of it thus far.
Has really impressed me since his arrival a few weeks ago. Big new signing in the very early mid-season transfer window here in Victoria.
More like a third of the season transfer window. It's very odd. We do appreciate it because it's brought some great names to Victoria.
Whipped in by Zinni. Away by El Mazi. Lundy coming straight through Salados. Advantage paid. He's up on his feet again, the number 45, who can really excite on his day. Oof. But he has it robbed by Mario Barcia. And here comes Yusuf Ahmed. Beaten away by Clark. Attack not over for Avondale. Valentini really climbed for that header. It's too high for him to get any real purchase on it. It's an impressive leap, though.
Another agile, low save from Pierce Clark. Man, Yui Ahmed with those long limbs, when he gets running, he is such an exciting player to watch.
He's so rapid, it kind of deceptively so, because he looks like he's moving slowly, but he's actually burning everybody.
Well, you and I, Josh, have seen that gallivanting run down the left flank and the cut inside time and again when he's played for Avondale.
Bad turnover by Brian. Scott Hillier has been the man to bail out the Avondale defence time and again in those situations. And now Jakupi down the right. Jankovic, ever reliable with the clearance. Hillier. South Melbourne supporters encouraging a more intense press, but they're not really engaging the Avondale defenders until they approach the halfway line. It's a game of chicken at the moment. Avondale with more of the ball and more of the shots, but South Melbourne with perhaps the clearest opening of the game, and it came very early on for the now departed Marcus Strohan. His close range shot was terrifically saved by Rory Bryan. Lovely slice from Barcia. And Norton did well.
Goes back to something we were saying earlier about the wing swap. Stefan Zinni really fancies himself for pace against Bradley Norton. Just knocked that one ahead of Norton. It was pure stand and deliver. There was no fancy footwork. He thought, I'm going to head to the line. I've got you for pace. And he very well nearly did burn Bradley Norton on that occasion, Stefan Zinni. He was played through well by a nice lofted ball, too, from Mario Barcia.
Towns. Good diagonal from Reid, and well brought down by Brandon Lundy. Trying to jink past Ben Jeeba, but the number 24 at right back has given every one of his opponents quite a lot of trouble in getting past today. Referee having to chat to Zoran Markovski. Avondale head coach not pleased with the officiating. No disciplinary action required, though. Lundy's header. Trzeski. Reid trying to keep the forward momentum going. It's a beautiful cross by Jakupi, but Pierce Clark saw it all the way. Norton. Ressi with the cushioned header. Zinni. Pass two. Little burst of acceleration from the number 7. Lundy for Ahmed. It's 2 for company. And it's ricocheted back off him. South Melbourne ball. Where do you think Avondale are falling short here, Lockie? They're certainly one's taking the initiative. Had a few chances, but just come up against a wall of South Melbourne defenders. What would you be telling them in the rooms at halftime if it stays 0-0?
It's a tough one. To be honest, I think I'd tell them more of the same. For as much as South Melbourne have been doing a lot of work to suffocate Avondale in an attacking sense, they are still finding openings, particularly, and this is the point that I would stress to the players in the halftime rooms, particularly when Avondale players are getting wide and willing to take on their markers. That's where the openings are coming. When players show the daring do to go one-on-one with their defender, that's where they're finding the breakthroughs. They're getting a lot of that out wide. Maybe they need a bit more of it in the middle. Christian Trzeski started the game nicely, but has maybe fallen off the boil a little bit as the game's transpired. We've already seen in this game what he can do with the ball at feet. Let him run a little bit more through the middle and give Liram Elmazi and Luke Pavlou some serious things to think about.
Nicely done by Baresi. Salados playing the overlap. Deflected, and that could have gone anywhere from Ben Jeeba's cross. Just ticking on to 43 minutes here in this first half. Still 0-0, but with plenty of talking points. Clark not quite happy with the inflation of the ball. Oh, maybe he'll use that one anyway. Sort of a pre-free throw routine from Daniel Clark. Getting a few bounces in. It's played short anyway. Here he is, Clark. It was Towns' header in the end. Daniel Clark again. Just dwelt on the ball and couldn't find any teammates. Another corner though, coughed up by Brandon Lundy.
Given the approach they've taken to this game and the way they've played so far, I think repeated corners are a very reliable route to goal for South Melbourne. They'd love to profit before the halftime whistle.
Hoare whips it into the danger zone, and again Towns heads away, the diminutive Towns. Salados sliced his cross, topped the ball, and after a subtle ricochet, it ended up in the arms of Rory Bryan. Avondale player down injured. Jacoby continues forward, but for how long? This doesn't look too good for Stefan Valentini, in a lot of pain. They'll play it out of playing into touch, and to review that incident on the replay and see what went on there. Whether it's a non-contact injury or whether he feels he's been clocked. Yeah, so it was coming together between Valentini and Henry Hoare. Bit of wrestling going on between the two of them as they ran away from defending the corner. And then there was contact with the face of Stefan Valentini. An outstretched arm rather than an elbow.
Yeah, you could see them both sort of giving each other a few shoves and bumps as they tried to run down to the opposite end of the field during that counter-attack. And the last action was Henry Hoare just sort of lifting up his arm. I don't think it was necessarily, an intentional turn straight around, no way of disguising it, straight up and down slap to the face of Stefan Valentini. But he certainly raised his hand and caught him with the back part of that hand. Whether it was intentional or not, well, I guess only Henry Hoare will know. But it certainly was contact with the face of Stefan Valentini, who went straight down as soon as he felt the contact.
Not much the match official can do if they didn't see the incident off the ball. Valentini off the pitch for now, but he'll shortly return. And the ball will be sportingly returned here by Brad Norton. Well, not that sportingly.
They just
kicked that a long way
lost
away.
The ball. Ball's gone over the fence. So not particularly sportingly at all.
One into the creek from Brad Norton.
I think Avondale FC should be invoicing for that ball.
They're quite expensive too, the match balls.
They are.
I'm sure Avondale can afford it.
Now you can get a yellow card for kicking the ball away. I suppose Brad Norton was allowed to do it, but it was just a way in which he did it that was just...
It seemed very dismissive.
There's just a bit of contempt behind that one, wasn't there?
Nartis telling Rory Bryan enough is enough. Jacoby. Valentini back on the field and in the wars again. Garcia with a cool turn under pressure. That's what he's been brought here to do. Zinni, double teamed. And that will be half-time. Well, it's been without goals, but not without incident here at Avenger Park. As these two teams draw a stalemate at the break. A fantastic opportunity for Marcus Schroen early on. Rory Bryan with a magnificent stop, then a big penalty shout, which left Marcus Schroen with a shoulder injury, and Matt Reid thanking his lucky stars that the referee waved play on. Avondale ascended throughout the rest of the half to control proceedings. A couple of opportunities, a couple of big saves from Piers Clark, but no goals here in this high-stakes match between two title contenders in NPL Victoria. Lockie Flanagan, your thoughts at half-time?
No score, but a hatful of talking points as both sides head into the sheds. Well, South Melbourne and the fans who are watching both here and on the Football Victoria live stream will feel that they should lead 1-0 after they were denied an early penalty shout, the one that you mentioned, a challenge from Matt Reid on Marcus Schroen. But after that, it did descend into a bit of brinkmanship, two teams trying to figure each other out. Avondale will probably feel that they had the better of the chances, but overall, Josh, the game has a feeling of something that's simmering. It's simmering away. Little conflicts here and there are bubbling. There's gunpowder out there on the field, and we're waiting for it to explode in the second 45, and I think it will.
See whether it boils over, whether someone lights the fuse here in the second half. Stay with us on the NPL Victoria Facebook Live and YouTube streams here on FVTV. We'll be back in 15 minutes. Don't you dare miss this second half. Big one coming up at Avenger Park. Josh Parrish and Lockie Flanagan. Welcome back to the Reggio Calabria Club and Avenger Park here in Parkville. A top of the table clash is delicately poised at the break. Josh Parrish on the play-by-play. Lockie Flanagan here on colour for Football Victoria on the YouTube and Facebook live streams. It's Avondale 0, South Melbourne 0 as we kick off the second half. Who can find the breakthrough? That's the question. Garcia making his Avondale debut in the number 23 jersey is impressed at the base of midfield with his cool distribution. 4 shots on target by Avondale to South Melbourne's 1, but that one chance was the clearest opening of the match, Lockie.
Yeah, it was. I think Marcus Schroen, though he's focusing on that injury, is probably still fuming about that penalty shout. Avondale have an early corner here.
Yes, as you mentioned, Lockie, of course, South already forced into a substitution in the first half. Marcus Schroen with a shoulder problem, replaced by Josh Baresi, the big boy up front. Trajeski lobbing it into the 6-yard area. Clark with the punch. Fresh air swing from Zinni. Salados went down. Baresi took charge. Push in the back of Lundy. Will draw the referee's whistle, though.
Oh. Josh Baresi just worshipping at the school of if you can't beat him, just knock him straight over. It was a good foot race between him and Brandon Lundy. Lundy the clear victor, and Josh Baresi none too pleased about it.
Garcia got a foot in. Here's Trajeski.
Wow.
Whose radar is spot on today. He picks out Yusuf Ahmed. Trajeski gets it back. His shot's blocked. Lundy on the follow-up. Just side foots. Centimetres wide of the top corner.
A quirky hit off the boot from Brandon Lundy. Had a weird spin, not the kind of strike you expect to see from that position. It was almost a chip, like a half chip, half genuine shot with power behind it, and it nearly caught out Pierce Clark, who has got the South Melbourne cap on. File that under things you love to see.
Goalkeepers in hats. We're very much in favour of that, at least this commentary team.
It's a shame it's not a goalkeeper-specific hat. Or a Legionnaire's hat. That'd be cool. That's more of an opposite side of the pitch kind of thing, actually, with the sun at your neck.
And just like we are, the goalkeeper is facing into the sun. Comes over the northwestern side of the ground. Ahmed. Pass was too close to Jeeber at right back. Clark stretched but couldn't get there. He's a technically gifted player, but not the most athletically gifted on the pitch today. Very narrow 4-4-2 structure South Melbourne have gone with. Avondale with the more fluid 4-3-3. Here's Jakupi. He's got pace to burn. Norton managed to keep pace and send it behind for a corner kick for Christian Trajeski to wrap that right boot around.
And Trajeski started the second half brightly. Still only 4 minutes into it. But I've seen him dropping deep a few times to pick up possession. I really like that decision. He can get it deep, and he's got the dribbling ability to carry it forwards.
He lobs it up for Matt Reid. What a chance. A free header. All of 10 yards out from goal, and Matt Reid is very frustrated that he didn't put that one in the back of the net.
Well, every time Matt Reid gets to that exact point on the pitch, something seems to happen. He nearly gave away a penalty in that exact spot and went very close to opening the scoring. A header, it looked textbook perfect off the forehead of Matt Reid, curling in the right direction, aimed towards that far post. Baresi just blatantly picks that one up. Luckily he'd won the free kick.
Forcing the referee to make a decision there. Takes a brave referee to call handball in that situation.
Yeah.
I think it was a clear trip from behind from Stefan Valentini. Pavli. Ball playing is not really his forte as a defensive midfield player, and I think we saw why there. Shanked off wrong part of his boot. Barcia went down. Advantage paid with Avondale still in possession. Reed. Couldn't find Trzeski. And Norton ran out of room. That's going to be a corner kick. Surely.
Wow.
Yes, it will be another corner and another chance for the likes of Matt Reed to get forward and threaten the South Melbourne goal. Major lapse to let him have the free header last time. Let's see what he comes up with now. Trzeski. Jankovic got there first that time. Here's Hillier. Going to leave that one, probably wisely, given a centre back on the left wing isn't the ideal tactical setup after a corner's been taken.
Yeah, you just knew if he decided to follow through there, it would have been one of those sort of hacked, floated crosses that you always see from centre backs who are trying to recycle it in that position.
Valentini's low ball was cut out by Marshall. Towns with the quick throw. Lundy didn't get hold of that one properly. That's
It's exactly the kind of cross that I was talking about, Josh.
even though that's from the left back.
Yeah.
Maybe we should give Scott Hillier a bit more credit. I mean, he has played in central midfield this season, so he's pretty versatile.
He is?
He's known to play at right back as well. Not so much a left back, but Lundy is a right-footed player playing at left back, and that's the difficulty sometimes. Ahmed with a good win. Big bodies flying everywhere. Stefan Zinni coming off a little ginger after that one. Hilly. See, they've switched the point of attack there, Lockie, and I think it was the wrong decision because Trzeski had taken up a really good position between the lines in that sort of inside right pocket. And once he switched the ball to the other side of the pitch, he can't get there again. He's the key player today, the number 18. They need to get the ball to Christian Trzeski's feet because when they do, good things happen.
Yeah, especially when he's not being directly man-marked.
Falls rather fortuitously Ahmed's way. That's a beautiful turn. Pass two now. Yusuf Ahmed with a bit of magic. But Marko Jankovic on the scene quickly to cover. El Mazi got enough of the ball there to keep play moving forward. Clark. Stuck out by the left-hand touchline. Couldn't do much with that. Does fall Luke Pavli's way. Here's Baresi. Can he get a shot away? Lays it off to Hoare. El Mazi now with the quick switch. Lovely first touch off the outside of the right boot, but the cross didn't live up to the control from Jerry Salados. Zinni. Valentini now. Outnumbered as the South Melbourne defenders came flying back in transition and crowded out that Avondale counter-attack. But a bit more pace to the game now, a bit more offensive zip. This is great news for the neutrals. Pavlu running out of room here and running out of options. Marshall forced into a low percentage ball. Yusuf Ahmed was completely free on the right-hand side, but he just didn't see him.
I certainly think this high press that we're seeing from Avondale is giving South Melbourne a lot of problems as they try to move the ball out from the back. I think it's a balancing of risk and reward from Markowski.
Here's Zinni trying to beat Jeeba down the line. The low ball lacked purchase and lacked pace.
Pierce Clark nearly lost his hat.
Can't have that. Lovely back heel from Clark. That kind of manoeuvre is his trademark. Fair challenge from Barcias as the referee. Lovely one-touch play. It's Ahmed for Towns. Zinni. Squaring up against Jiba. Is that a penalty? It is! Stefan Zinni outfoxing Ben Jiba, who went in with an ill-advised slide challenge. And that's going to be a penalty for Avondale in almost the exact same spot where South were denied in the first half.
That is a massive call from Pascalis Natis. A lot of the South Melbourne fans looking up at the broadcast box, dumbfounded by what they've seen. It was a very similar looking challenge to the one made by Matt Reid on Marcus Schroen earlier in the half. A lot of raised eyebrows by South Melbourne, but Pascalis Natis has seen, in his eyes, sufficient difference between that challenge from Ben Jiba and the earlier one from Matt Reid in the first half to award this spot kick to Stefan Valentini.
Valentini opens the scoring for Avondale and accepts the plaudits from his teammates, sending Pierce Clark the wrong way and finally breaking the South Melbourne resistance. Avondale 1, South Melbourne 0.
The deadlock broken in controversial circumstances, Josh Parrish. South Melbourne fans with plenty to say and not too much of it positive about the penalty awarded. Stefan Valentini, though, cool, calm and collected, does not care one iota. Put that one past Pierce Clark, and Avondale, the bright starters in this second half, claim their advantage finally.
Well, after such a composed showing, I don't know what was going through Ben Jiba's head there. Challenge he really didn't have to make. Just stand up and jockey Zinni. Keep him where you can see him and don't take that risk. I mean, easy for us to say from up here, but it's just a brain snap from the right back.
But South Melbourne fans would be and were asking the question, and quite rightfully, what was the difference between that challenge and the one from Matt Reid? Maybe Jiba got less of the ball, none at all, in that particular drive, whereas when we slowed it down on the slow motion replay,
it's multi-ball here at Avenger Park as we had the second ball off the playing service.
Be no less drama than this contest deserves.
And we'll see a change here for South Melbourne. Luke Pavlou going to the bench. Is that Zach Bates we've seen?
I believe it is Zach Bates we've come on, and if
yes.
so, it is.
Finally seen the shirt number.
I like that change a lot from Esteban Quintas.
Just waiting for Zach Bates to turn around and confirm that it was indeed him. Here's Valentini creating some problems in behind the defence. Really route one that time, which is how Avondale scored twice at the death against Hume City here last week to rescue a 3-1 deficit. They love to play short passing football, but they can go direct if necessary. Avondale
Nearly had multi-ball again there. It's all happening here at Avenger Park. I do really like the change, though. Zach Bates coming on. Luke Pavlou, who was maybe looking a little bit careless with his passing. Speaking of careless, Rory Bryan riding his luck there, giving away a corner.
So that one was out, but I think he was just worried about the back pass there, Rory Bryan, the way he took that. He may have gotten away with picking that one up. Wasn't willing to gamble and take that risk. Given it did come off sort of an interception, I think Avondale would have been hard done by if they were penalised. Instead, it's a corner. Clark's delivery. Rory Bryan claims. Accepts some contact from Josh Baresi, but no hard feelings. Well, this completely changes the game plan for South Melbourne. No longer content to sit back. That's almost a hospital ball from Ahmed. It's really slowed up on the slightly clogged slow deck here today after all that rain.
This is a unique challenge for South Melbourne, and really where we get a test of their mettle as title contenders. They've had a lot of games this season where they take the lead and grind things out, but now the Avengers are forcing them to come out and play. How do they respond to that challenge, Josh? We haven't seen them in this position a lot, if at all, this season. So big questions being asked of South Melbourne. Can they answer them?
Ahmed completely missed that one. Valentini copping a push in the back from Jake Marshall. Bit of a scuffle going on here, but Brad Norton will come out with the throw in front of the south bench.
Interesting to see that Zach Bates has been almost put forward as the line leader for South Melbourne in attack. They're so used to those small running forwards for South Melbourne, having Harrison Sawyer leading the line and using his body as a bounce passer to play off. And I dare say, Josh, I think they are missing Harrison Sawyer in this game.
Yeah, they've lacked the target man presence. Josh Baresi provides that to an extent, but he's a little bit more of a link-up player.
He's a different kettle of fish, Josh Baresi, at least in terms of physical stature. He's still a tall boy, but not quite at the same stratosphere, figuratively and literally, of Harrison Sawyer. It's not necessarily that that's the way I agree that South Melbourne should play. It's just that they're so used to doing it that they're struggling without him.
Lovely work from Valentini. Ahmed lost his footing. Valentini trying to keep it alive. El Mazi with an elegant bit of play. Baresi. Clark. He's got Bates in the box. Looks for the late arriving Hoare, who goes down. Another spot kick. A push in the back. And Pascalis Natas points to the penalty spot again.
Another big decision from Pascalis Natas. The contact in the back was there from Matt Reid on Henry Hoare, who went down as soon as he felt the challenge. Might have fancied the first time strike, but the minute he felt those two hands in the back, he went down. And Pascalis Natas, clearly he studied the textbook before the start of this game, because that was a textbook foul. Some will ask the question of whether or not it's enough to warrant a penalty, but Pascalis Natas isn't exactly about to change his mind. Stefan Valentini earns himself a caution, and Jerry Salados earns himself a chance to score this penalty kick.
He sent South Melbourne through against the Knights. Jerry Salados with spot kick duties again, up against Rory Bryan, pulling out every trick in the book to try and put him off. It's Jerry Salados. It's a magnificent save! Rory Bryan with the trailing arm claws that one out of the top corner. Unbelievable from the Avondale goalkeeper.
That's a ripper from Rory Bryan with the left palm outstretched. It's one of those ones where, because you've only got the one hand to it, you worry for a brief second, will it not have enough force behind it? Will it trickle over the line anyway? Absolutely not. Solid palms from Rory Bryan. A magnificent penalty save.
Can they regain their composure in time to defend this corner? That's out of play. I think they were all a little bit carried away after the save and didn't quite concentrate on the fundamentals.
I want to know who makes Rory Bryan's gloves. They're laced with titanium or something. It's incredible to get a palm that strong to a penalty hit with such power.
I mean, that's the save of the season for me, Lockie. That is unbelievable. I cannot believe what I've just seen from Rory Bryan, who started the season as the backup goalkeeper.
Yeah, as I was saying, usually, unless the single hand is pushing it away, you expect those ones to flop over the top of the fingertips and trickle their way into the goal anyway. But it fell all the way over the crossbar and towards the fence at the back. Unbelievable from Rory Bryan. Goodness gracious.
Oh, you can't accuse Jerry Salatos of not taking a good penalty there. That was a phenomenal spot kick.
Man, and how would you feel if you're Bon Scott?
Here he is, Jerry Salatos trying to make up for... I wouldn't really say he's missed, to be honest. Rory Bryan's save.
It wasn't a bad penalty. It was hit with good power. I think the only criticism you could make of it, it was sort of at a middle-of-the-road height. You know, it wasn't low, it wasn't high. It was kind of straight down the middle, which some say would be a catchable, or a savable height, rather, for a goalkeeper from the penalty kick. But make no mistake, that was not a Jerry Salatos error. That was just top-shelf stuff from Rory Bryan. As I was saying, it'd be tough stuff if you are Bon Scott. No one doubts that he is an incredible keeper, but being shut out at the moment by a player in Rory Bryan who most had figured as a backup, but he's looking like the star of the show in between the posts for Avondale since he's come in.
I mean, honestly, the way he raised his trailing arm to save that one, that was reminiscent of Mark Schwarzer against Uruguay. To borrow a phrase from Craig Foster, it's as big as we've ever seen in NPL Victoria. I'm sorry.
Sorry indeed. Sorry for that reference.
I mean, Valentini with a good pass. Lundy on the overlap. Fancies his chances here. Plays the chipped cross instead. Which comes to nothing. Barcia with a thumping tackle. Pink shirts arriving in support now. Towns threading one through. Valentini. Oh, what an effort! Ahmed on the follow-up! Yusuf Ahmed heads in the rebound. And Avondale take a commanding lead. The U Crew celebrates on the near touchline. But what about that from Stefan Valentini? Off the left boot.
Stefan Valentini, he celebrates himself with the knee slide. It was him who did the hard work. Maybe that ball had already crossed the line. The referee didn't give it, but in that confusion, Yui Ahmed spawned his way, leaped up into the air and said, "Thanks very much, Steph. Good work down the right-hand side. I'll do the rest." Pumped that one into the back of the net, past Pierce Clark, and the U Crew into raptures as Avondale take a commanding lead over this contest at Avenger Park.
Well, what a turning point that Rory Bryan save was. After a pretty tense chess match of the first half, this game has just erupted.
I told you, Josh. There's kindling all over the pitch. We're just waiting for the firelighters. And we found them in the second 45.
Avondale have really turned on the afterburners in this second 45. South Melbourne trying to muster a response. Brad Norton getting forward now. The chip! Oh, it's just wide. The left fullback with a great chance.
You can tell things are going absolutely crazy when Brad Norton is pushing up into the nosebleed section and going a few centimetres wide from getting South Melbourne back into the contest. Great chip from the fullback, pushing on. Good work as well from Jerry Salatos to play him through. As South Melbourne make a change. It's Freddie Say coming onto the field.
Looks like Jake Marshall's the one to be replaced. So Elmazi will go back into defence. Salatos into the middle of the park. And Freddie Say out on the left. So it's a pretty lightweight central midfield now for South Melbourne, I've got to say. I mean, Henry Hoare and Jerry Salatos as a double pivot.
It's quite surprising. I mean, Esteban Quintas is so well known for his all-out conservatism. Perhaps Elmazi will still drop in now and then.
I mean, he's going to be the centre-back now because Marshall's off, so they don't have holding midfield player.
I meant perhaps he might still drop into that defensive midfield
guess,
line.
Yeah. They could try and form a three.
But he's so conservative generally, Quintas, and
he has no choice.
With the substitutes he's make, he really is going for broke. I do like seeing Jerry Salados finally being given a chance to stream through the middle. I do feel as that is where he's at his most effective, but maybe he'll be constrained by the fact that he doesn't have a lot, if any, defensive coverage behind him at the moment.
He's Freddie Say, the substitute, when he hit high up the field. The Baresi back heel goes awry. Avondale can't believe the whistle hasn't gone there. Great challenge from Barcia now. Valentini takes over. Yankovic with an excellent challenge in response. It's a bit of pinball in the middle of the midfield at the moment. Markovsky screaming at his defenders to get the line higher. You've got the threat of Zach Bates in behind, remember, who's barely had a sniff so far, but possesses maybe the quickest burst of speed in the division. Trajeski, wrong foot Yankovic. Play goes on. Zinni couldn't find the angle. Lundy floats it to the back stick. Nobody there. Valentini to reel it in. Up against Freddie Say. He keeps possession. Looks for Towns, but Almazi steaming in with the clearance.
Zach Bates was the one giving chase to that lost cause there. Now, before Zach Bates made his way into the field, it was Josh Baresi who was the furthest forward for South Melbourne, doing that more Harrison Sawyer-like line-leading role. They swapped when Bates made his way up onto the field. And I'm wondering, of course hindsight is 2020, whether or not that was the right call. Because Zach Bates, in games that I've seen previous, particularly the game against Dandenong City, where South Melbourne were able to come back and grab a point in that game, nearly grabbed all three towards the end when Zach Bates was on. He was so effective playing off a target forward ahead of him and doing that running in behind the back four between the midfield line and defensive line in that sort of half space. So I'm quite surprised to see him thrown forward there, and I think he's looked a little isolated in that position.
I have to agree with you there, Lockie. He's not been on the ball nearly enough. Baresi dropping deep into that 10 role all the time, and Bates trying to play on the shoulder, but just simply hasn't had any service. And a high foot from Bates there. He was sort of wrestled and pushed out of the play by Matt Reid and then retaliated. I'm not sure if he has the physical presence to try and lead the line against Matt Reid. It's a different story when Avondale are really pushing on in their space in behind the defence, but haven't been able to find too many of those transition scenarios. And at 2-0 down, a wrinkle is needed. Yankovic finds Salados. Lundy intercepts the pass. Trajeski for Zinni. Valentini's hugging the touchline. Avondale will be content enough to keep possession here. Oh, Stefan Zinni isn't. Here he is on the strike with the ball just sort of ricocheting to him. Big sliding challenge coming in from Lundy, but it was timed well enough. Almazi hacks it clear. Ahmed drawing oohs and ahs from his admirers on the sideline. Trajeski turns one way, then the other. He finds Ahmed in the area, who's offside, and this one won't count.
It's a real shame. Huey Ahmed collapsing to the turf. Just has so much energy. Almost ever present as he moves, or move there from the middle of the pitch into the penalty area.
Ooh, that's a bad challenge from Clark on Barcia, who made sure everyone knew about it, and it's really disintegrated here. Several players involved in the melee. His tempers boil over. Pascalis Natis trying to get a handle on proceedings.
Well, South Melbourne today, over the course of this game, they've had their apple cart upset by Avondale, and I don't think Daniel Clark in particular is too pleased about it, because he flew in with that challenge and didn't react too well in the follow-up. It just did finally boil over between these two sides who have had a little bit of heat over the course of the game, and once Clark reacted, it was all in from there.
Norton calling for calm now. Discussions go on between the referee and his assistant. It's a tough one to keep track of. I saw the initial challenge, everyone piled in, and then from there, no idea who should be penalised out of the 10 or 15 players involved.
Players falling over one another as well. There were so many.
It was like a rugby scrum.
It was. Unfortunately, the player who was injured on the floor was the ball. Is the problem. I was worried that they were going to get trampled on.
Yellow card for Daniel Clark. And Yute Towns will go into the book as well for his role in the afters.
A wry smile on the face of Yute Towns.
Who, me, out of everybody?
You're kidding.
But sir, everyone was doing it. A few boos from the U crew. If you're not aware, by the way, Yusuf Ahmed has his own personal fan club that follow him around from game to game. 15 or so passionate supporters who create a lot of noise and atmosphere, and he always runs straight to them when he scores a goal. And he has today. The second. After Stefan Valentini had a rocket come back off the crossbar, bounce on the goal line. Yusuf Ahmed was there to head the bouncing ball into the back of the net.
I think it's fair to say that goal was reward for effort for Yusuf Ahmed. It wasn't a goal of his own creation, and it was a goal of considerable fortune in the way that it fell out to him after that wonder strike, or near wonder strike, from Stefan Valentini. But he's worked so hard this game in hitting the lines and taking on his defensive markers that he earned a goal from his hard work. And sometimes fate and all the cosmic energy just falls your way, and it certainly did for Yui Ahmed as he added that second goal for Avondale.
It's also earned him a rest as Liam Boland comes onto the field. He's involved straight away. Avondale making... Is that their first substitution?
I think
so.
so.
The mental maths? I think it is.
Yeah.
Haven't felt the need to change things radically, as South have.
Well, what's interesting for me about the lack of substitutions for Avondale, of course they've been in control, so they haven't needed to make too many changes. But Barcia, in his first game, has played a full 80 minutes and may yet play more. You wouldn't have believed that he's only had one training session with the club, and this is his first week. He has looked so comfortable at the base of midfield for Avondale. It's crazy.
Valentini couldn't quite find Boland. Tries to win it back, though. He's done brilliantly, Valentini. Jankovic gets the foot in ahead of the number 9. And Mitchell goes down under the push. Not for the first time this afternoon has he been felled. Did win the penalty that was saved quite brilliantly by Rory Bryan to keep the score at 1-0. A major turning point in this game. It could have been level, and moments later it was 2. Baresi. Trying to find Freddie Say. Jakupi's sliding challenge sent the ball into his shins and behind for a goal kick. Well, it looks like Daniel Clark's come centrally now. Salados has gone up front and Bates to the right-hand side where maybe his burst of pace can be better used. I think that's a bit more balanced for mine, having someone of Clark's stature and poise in the centre of the park.
Yeah, well, if you watch South Melbourne at any point this season, you know exactly how they play. The ball comes into Harrison Sawyer, and there is almost like a crop circle of players standing around him waiting to pick up the scraps from Harrison Sawyer, waiting to get that bounce pass. And you would have thought that the best approach was to put Baresi in that position and let the runners move either side of him. But it's not the way it's panned out in the second half for South Melbourne. And maybe Daniel Clark moving centrally just to provide a bit more of a physical presence through the middle and allow Zach Bates to have a run out wide, which I think is where he should have been to begin with.
Scott Hillier giving Zach Bates the hip and shoulder. If you're wondering about Avondale's pink kits, it's all in aid of Breast Cancer Network Australia today. Junior clinic and a women's exhibition match earlier. And the men to finish the festivities here at Avenger Park, all in aid of a very good cause. If you see pink beanies around the ground, all those funds are going to BCNA, including also donations from the Finger Buns and Coffee. All proceeds from today to Breast Cancer Network Australia. And if you want to donate to Avondale's fundraising goal, you can head on over to their Facebook page or any of their social channels, and there is a link there if you couldn't be here today to contribute.
They've set a very ambitious target of 30,000, so anything and everything does count on the journey to reach that goal for what is, as you said, Josh, an extremely worthy cause that impacts many.
Boland around the corner for Stefan Zinni. Here's Towns shaping up. He jinks past Benjiba. Oh, what an effort. Yite Towns out of nowhere with the left-footed drive from the angle, and it comes back off post and crossbar.
Well, we've had undoubtedly the save of the season here today at Avenger Park, and a few licks of paint on the right-hand side of the goalpost on the left-hand side of your screen are all that's denied two potential goal of the season contenders, one from Valentini and that one from Yite Towns.
Lovely ball from Towns to find Boland, who had Brad Norton get in between him and the ball, and the ankles were tapped. Substitution here for Avondale. Christian Trzeski has run his race. Excellent in midfield today, I have to say. Much of Avondale's best stuff has come through him. He's replaced by Joey Katabian. And you look at that bench today for Avondale. I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches. Liam Boland, Blake Carpenter, Joey Katabian.
I think
Bon Scott, even the backup goalkeeper today, has got great pedigree.
I think those injuries, how many they've had Avondale to start the season, now that they're all coming back, have sort of led to them flying a little bit under the radar and made people forget and not quite realise just how talented and how much quality on paper this Avondale side has. Bench is unbelievable.
Bates. Hall. Reed heads away. Bit of off the ball misdemeanors going on. Nothing the referee was interested in between Katabian and Hall. Now look, if I was Esteban Quintas, I think I'd go for Marko Jankovic up front at this point.
What's Harry Chakaran up to today?
No, honestly, I'm serious.
James Burgess, can he play up front? I'm joking, of course, making reference to the FFA Cup, where Harry Chakaran was brought on as a striker by the Melbourne Knights. He was
After
normally
a
a
raft of
goalkeeper.
injuries. After their sub got injured, actually, Matthew Breeze came off the bench and then had to come back.
Well, I mean,
Back
South
onto
Melbourne,
the bench again.
South Melbourne could use a target man, so I am only half joking.
Well, Marko Jankovic did go up front in the final few minutes of their trip to Summer Street, down at 1-0. So they're sort of fast running out of central defenders, but
Yeah, can they even afford to have him go forward at this point?
I mean, he was unbelievable up there. You know, he's so hungry, attacks everything, really brave. It's the kind of presence they could use. I mean, they do have Luke Adams on the bench, but it seems a little regressive to bring off a more attacking player for a defender at this point. Even if Marko Jankovic has been surprisingly prolific this season, especially in that away game at Altoona Magic where he scored twice and got an assist.
I could try and bring on Luke Adams, but I don't think the fourth official would allow them to. They've already made the 3 subs.
There you go.
Bates.
Bates
Baresi.
Good thing one of us keeping count, Lockie. Of course, that first half substitution for Marcus Schroen very early in the contest went off with a shoulder injury. And that
Bates
escaped my
Baresi.
attention.
Bates Baresi and Freddie Say, all the attacking cards have already been played for Esteban Quintas. I don't know, he's staring down the prospect of mucking his hand, I think.
All right, I think Freddie Say to right back. Follow me here. Lockie.
Goodness
Brad
gracious.
Norton to centre back. Marko Jankovic up front. Salatos to the wing.
So who plays left back then?
Freddie Say.
Okay,
He's played wing back before.
No, you said right back initially, but now
Sorry.
I am picking
Freddie
up
Say to
what
left back. Norton to centre back. Jankovic up front. All right, I'll leave my harebrained tactical schemes for.
No, I think we're finally
Off air.
I think we're finally picking up what you're putting down. Whether or not Esteban Quintas will do it, remains to be seen. But I would like to see the South Melbourne coach throw some caution into the blustery wind here in
Push your
Parkville.
chips into the centre of the table, Esteban. As Daniel Clark is ruled offside.
Always appreciate your thoughts, comments and opinions in the Football Victoria live stream channels. John, who is clearly a South Melbourne fan, saying we can play for another hour and we wouldn't score. We don't have a recognised striker.
Well, Harry Sawyer's toe ligament injury, a really costly one for South Melbourne today.
I think the concerning thing is that we've heard no timeline on his return as of yet, and I dare say that he can't come back soon enough for South Melbourne.
It's only a big toe, Harry. Strap it up. Get out there. Use your head anyway.
That's a very niche injury as well. Big toe ligament damage. Never heard of that before. But you know
Well,
what?
your feet aren't as big as Harry Sawyer's.
That is true. That is true.
Ben Jeeba on throw-in duties. Baresi. Clark with a slightly rushed ball over the top when he actually had a lot more time than he thought. Needed some communication from his teammates that wasn't forthcoming.
I don't think there were questions asked of South Melbourne once they went goals behind. Required some character and composure to bring themselves back into this contest, and I'm not sure that they ever quite found it so far. I mean, there is still time for the unsurprising comeback, but just not sure they ever found that next extra level that they needed.
Here's
At 2-0.
Hoare. Say with a terrible pass. And here come Avondale in transition. It's 4 versus 2. Jeeba trying to get it back. Zinni for Towns. Valentini. It's too close to Pierce Clark.
Could have been the final flourish from Stefan Valentini. He's already got the one.
Great ball from... Well, not a great ball from Zach Bates, I should say. Salados is cutting a increasingly isolated figure on that flank. He's been moved all over the park today to try and get him involved, but Jerry Salados, wherever he goes, he can't seem to get enough of the ball to generate the attacking opportunities that South Melbourne need. We're into stoppage time here at Avenger Park.
Question for you, Josh, vis-a-vis Jerry Salados.
As Barcia comes forward. Zinni was in his own half. So no offside against him. Good tackle from Brad Norton to deny Yite Towns another effort on goal. He's rattled the woodwork at the intersection of post and bar with his left foot, his weaker foot. He's Say. New signing from New South Wales this season. Largely relegated to a bit part bench role. A few starts here and there. Avondale goal kick.
Oh.
That'll eat up some extra seconds for Zoran Markovski's side to hang on for pretty well-deserved victory. It hasn't been easy by any stretch, but I think they've been good for it, Lockie.
Yeah, inclined to agree with you, Josh. I think once they found that opening, it always put South Melbourne on the back foot. They were faced with a difficult prospect and haven't shown the cut nor the thrust to prove that they could turn it around. But just while play simmered down, I want to go back to my question about Jerry Salados. Are Salados and South Melbourne a good fit at the present moment, Josh? I'll leave you to ponder that one.
I don't know if they've ever been a good fit. He's always been the great hope.
That's not a question of quality of the player himself. More just looking at the blending of styles of the individual and the collective. I'm just wondering
where would they be without him, though? Is the question.
It is a good point.
No, I think there are places where he'd have more support, more players around him, and he'd enjoy his football more. I mean, South Melbourne, a massive club with a big fan base, and
I'm not trying.
They have been a lot more successful this season, but stylistically, I don't know if it quite complements.
I'm not trying to
what
start.
Jerry Salados brings.
I'm not trying to start any rumours here. I'm merely posing a question, but I still think Esteban Quintas has got a lot of things right in some respects for South Melbourne this season, but getting Jerry Salados to function effectively in this team, I don't think is one that he's quite figured out yet.
Third and final change, Stefan Zinni off, Phil Ricobene on to defend this set piece. It's Bates, it's blocked. Norton fires it into the area. Valentini couldn't get it away. An awkward one from Lundy. And he seems to have done himself a bit of damage as a result. Really awkward the way he made that clearance and holding a right glute. It's not an injury Avondale would have wanted. I mean, this one's done and dusted. Seems unnecessary. Katabian's clearance. And this one will fall kindly for Valentini, but he slips on the particularly waterlogged patch of grass there.
The ball fell kindly, but Steph Valentini certainly didn't.
And that's a free kick. Joey Katabian getting too much of the man. Now we've got Valentini down.
Well, make no mistake, with their players coming back and with their new signing, Avondale are clicking into gear at a good time of the season, and It's a good time for them to get such an important win because they've got 2 big fixtures coming up in the next 2 weeks. Perennial pests for Avondale. They meet next week. I'm, of course, referring to Heidelberg United, who they play next week, and then Oakley in round 14. So 3 big fixtures. If Zoran Markovsky and his boys come away with 3 wins from those 3 games, they'll be feeling very pleased.
Well, that's all she wrote. Pascalis Natis blows his whistle, and Avondale have battled it out and earned a very important 3 points in their push for the title. The goals coming from their star attacking players. But the man of the hour, I would argue, is Rory Bryan, with one of the great penalty saves, one of the saves of the season to deny Jerry Salados from 12 yards. Stefan Valentini was successful with his penalty, and Yusuf Ahmed headed into the back of the net after Valentini's subsequent effort crashed off the underside of the crossbar. Rory Bryan with the most acrobatic and the most important of saves. A turning point in this game, and from there, Avondale was home. South Melbourne, for all their defensive resistance, could not muster a response, and the final score at Avenger Park, Avondale 2, South Melbourne 0.
So often, Josh Parrish, these first versus second clashes get overhyped. They fall flat on their face, but we've seen one that has delivered in spades and then some here at Avenger Park in Parkville. Big games like these, they need people to step up. Rory Bryan stepped up, facing Jerry Salados on the penalty spot. And the players that you expect to step up are not always, Josh, and rarely, if ever, the players that you had pegged as your reserve keeper for the start of the season. But Rory Bryan has made himself big, and it was a big performance from Avondale to overcome a difficult prospect in South Melbourne, who will be left to rue that early penalty decision in the first half that didn't go their way. It would have given them the lead they so desperately wanted to sit on and defend for the rest of the game. They didn't find it. Instead, they found themselves behind. And sadly for South Melbourne and for Esteban Quintas, from that point on, once they went down, they just could never find the answers. So plenty for Avondale to celebrate on a great day for the club, and plenty for Esteban Quintas to head home to Lakeside and ponder in the week ahead.
Well, some stern words being dished out by South Melbourne captain Brad Norton on the field now. As Avondale celebrate, it's been a delight to bring you this one here from Avenger Park. I've been Josh Parrish alongside Lockie Flanagan, and the final score is Avondale 2, South Melbourne 0.